Hello there YouTube. So anyone who saw my Hunger Games book review will know that I'm a huge fan of the Hunger Games, which meant that I got really excited for the movie that just came out. Despite the fact that I was trying not to become excited because I always become disappointed by movies when I read the book first. And everyone's always telling me, the movies are different from the books, you need to appreciate that, blah 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 blah. And I do appreciate this, and I appreciate that the movies can't put everything in the books into the movies. I don't expect that. But I become annoyed when the movies change something drastically or make the characters do something which I feel goes against their very nature. Although I guess it doesn't help that most of the time I get so excited for the movie that I read the book again, and so all the details are fresh in my head and I hate everything. But this time I was able to resist reading it again, so everything was not fresh in my head. Anyways, I love the movie, and it's probably the best movie adaptation of a book I've ever seen. I'm gonna warn you now that I want to discuss details on the movie and stuff, so if you haven't read the book or seen the movie, I suggest you end the video right now and go read it. Why haven't you read it? Why would go? Why are you still watching this? Go! Seriously, watching this will ruin it. I was actually really impressed by the pacing of the movie. It really took its time to get through everything that was important. Obviously they couldn't include everything, so I felt like a lot of the character development that readers get from the less action-packed part of the books was severely missing from the movie. Especially the threat of dying from thirst or starvation, which I didn't really feel was presented in the movie at all. However, I do feel like it was understandable because those parts would not be as easy to portray in film as it was in movies, especially as the film didn't have Katniss's narrator voice like explaining everything. Although I still feel the movie did a really great job of explaining a lot of the points by simply showing what was happening outside the arena as well. But it does seem like it is a movie for those who have read the books, because I don't know how well you would understand everything that happened if you hadn't read the book in all the details. I went to see it with several friends who had not read the book despite my best efforts to make them read it, and it did seem like there was some confusion about certain parts of the movie at the end, which is why you should definitely still read it if you haven't. Although I prefer that the movie caters for those who have read it. Stop texting me! Oh, that's why I'm so popular. You know, all the parties I have to attend and like, yeah. Actually, no. However, because the character development suffered a bit, I felt like some of the relationships, especially Katniss and... Okay, I put it again on silent. I felt like some of the relationships, especially Katniss and Rue, were not as strong as they were in the book. So Rue's death did not have as much impact on me as it did every time I read the book. I've read it 3 times. Because they didn't seem as close to each other. Also, Katniss and Peter's relationship wasn't as easy to understand because obviously we couldn't hear what Katniss was thinking. So it could be sort of difficult to understand why she was kissing him, etc. Although I did feel the movie did give some hints, it wasn't really properly explained like it is in the book. But again, that's because they catered to us book readers and not to those of you who are lazy. On the other hand, I felt like Katniss and Prim's relationship was portrayed excellently. Maybe even better than the book itself, because I didn't feel much for their relationship before, but in the movie I truly felt touched by how much they sort of loved each other. Oh, the weeping was just amazing, and I almost started crying, and I have never cried at a movie before in my life. But I feel like this may also be due to the actors that played Katniss and Prim. Actually, I feel like all of the characters did a really brilliant job of portraying their characters. Elizabeth Banks as Effie was just hilarious. I didn't really think that anyone could portray Effie properly because she was just this really weird character in my mind, but she did such a good job. I was really impressed by how they portrayed Cato, especially at the end, as I felt more sorry for him in the movies than I did while reading the book. And his last speech thing really showed how the games affect all of the tributes, even their careers, mentally. However, the real star of the movie has got to be Jennifer Lawrence, who portrayed Katniss perfectly. I wasn't sure if anyone would really be able to do it, as Katniss often tried to mask her true feelings to appear stronger. And somehow Jennifer managed to show Katniss's emotions while still staying true to Katniss not wanting to appear weak or show her emotions. I don't know how she did, but she did it and it was really well done. Also, she's hot and super nice. Actually, all of the cast are, and really friendly as well. At least they were at the Hunger Games premiere in London, which I went to, which was a lot of fun. That was the first time I'd really been around other fans of the Hunger Games, and it was really cool because I did Rue's whistle call there, like, and then someone somewhere else responded to me, and I was just like, ah! And I heard them like squealing as well. It was just really cool and fun to be around other fans, and like I said, the stars were all super nice. Also, I stole one of the poster things that they had there. No, like, there's only a few of them in the whole world. Limited edition. I'm also actually glad that it was a 12 rating. Not only because it meant that my young sister was actually able to read the books and then watch the movie, but The Hunger Games has also never been about the violence in itself to me. Although it is a very prominent and exciting part. And I feel like if it was a higher rating, I think there would have been more violence, which would have sort of taken away from the emotion and the characters themselves. I also really liked how the fights, especially the cornucopia at the beginning, was shot, as it really highlighted the confusion and mess that it all was, by the camera jumping around like constantly and also sometimes taking the tribute's point of view. Although one of the things that annoyed me was how Katniss just seemed to be standing there in the beginning. I know she's supposed to hesitate because of Peter's headshake thing, like, no, don't do it. But she seemed to stand there for ages not doing anything, and that's just not her character. There were also various other things that are different from the book, understandably, and also things they missed out. But generally they stuck really well to the book, which I think was really key to making this a great movie. I think that the only thing I actually really wish that they had done better was like the ending generally. The dog wolf things were supposed to be horrific mutations that looked like the tributes, which I felt really highlighted Capitol's ruthlessness and pure evil. But in the movie they seemed like just big and fairly scary dogs. Peter was supposed to be dying by the end, you know, a huge loss of blood, and they're taking up into the ship thing and separated. Katniss is supposed to bang on the window, desperately wanting to get to him and still protect him. For me, this moment was really important because it really showed how Katniss truly felt about him for the first time, because she had forgotten about the cameras and forgotten about the audience, or was just desperate to really help Peter. I wanted to see a bit more of their interview at the end, especially the part where they had to watch back the highlights of the games themselves and their reaction to it. And their conversation in the train at the end was severely cut down. But I guess this is something that can be explored more in the second movie, so it wasn't as bad. But overall, it was truly a fantastic movie that everyone should go see. And I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with the next two, especially the last one, because I was sort of disappointed by the last one in the trilogy. So, for once, maybe it might actually be done better in movies, we'll see. So, if you haven't seen the movie, see it. If you haven't read the book, read it. Even if you... No, especially if you've seen the movie. I'd actually love to hear your thoughts and opinions about this whole thing, because I love like discussing movies because I'm a nerd like that. So if you want to leave them in the comments below, or if you've made a video about this topic, link me and then I can go and watch yours. And then maybe we can get a discussion going. So until next time, outro ninja!